NASA's goal was to collect data on the large number of luminosities seen flying over the lunar surface. Operation Moonblink also investigated various large structures which had been photographed by unmanned NASA satellites. Some of these structures looked suspiciously artificial. In 1953, the science editor of the New York Herald Tribune had reported seeing a 12-mile-long structure, possibly a bridge, on the edge of the Mare Crisium crater. This structure could have been caused by volcanic activity. British astronomers Dr. H.P. Wilkins and the presenter of the world's longest-running TV series, The Sky at Night, Sir Patrick Moore, both confessed that the so-called bridge in the Mare Crisium crater had just popped up from nowhere. In preparation for the NASA Apollo moon missions, Orbiter 3 was dispatched to take photographs of some of the moon's most interesting structures. In the Ucurt area of the moon, a large vertical structure stands proud of the lunar surface. It has been nicknamed the Shard. Another curious object photographed by Orbiter 3 is the so-called tower, which some astronomers claim is over a mile thick and could be 5 miles high. After looking carefully through hundreds of NASA photos returned to Earth by Orbiter 3 and its predecessor, Orbiter 2, American author George Leonard published a book called Somebody Else is on the Moon. George Leonard presented many photos in his book, some showing very long tracks in the lunar dust, tracks which he said had been made by aliens.
It's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
An unidentified flying object.
Did it really happen? Did man really walk on the moon, just as Kennedy had challenged NASA to do?
can't do the other things, not because they are easy, but because they are hard.
The photos of Apollo 11 moon landing have been criticized as being too perfect and looking like they've been photographed inside a TV studio with spotlights. Bill Casing is an ex-Rocketdyne engineer who points out that there should be a blast crater underneath the lunar module, but there isn't. Award-winning filmmaker and photographer David Percy has written a book called Dark Moon, which shows that the famous Apollo 11 photographs were all shot using multiple light sources, something which can't happen if the astronauts were really on the moon. Jim Collier, an American investigator, has pointed out that the lunar module was far too small for 2 astronauts in full spacesuits to maneuver around inside. Jim Collier also believes that some of the footage showing the lunar module blasting off from the moon's surface has been filmed using a rotating model, just like the special effects techniques Hollywood blockbusters use today. Now, for the first time on film, we present new evidence which proves that at least some of the official NASA photographs taken on the lunar surface are definitely faked, or at the very least, heavily manipulated. Join us now on a quest for the truth to the moon. In this film, we shall not only prove beyond all reasonable doubt that many of the official NASA images of lunar exploration are fake, but we shall also examine the motives for the biggest lie put before the world. Why did NASA repeatedly fake lunar images and photographs? Why did NASA stage lunar expeditions which did not happen? The answer will surprise you. It can be summarized in just 2 words: money and UFOs. But before we look at the motives for lying on such a vast scale, let's look at where some NASA scientists came from. Peenemünde, Nazi Germany. For centuries, warmongering nations had been using primitive rockets as a weapon of war. China, Britain, and of course Hitler's Third Reich all used rockets to terrorize their enemies. Werner von Braun was an SS officer and rocket scientist. His team at Peenemünde designed the first cruise missile, the V-1 Doodlebug.
Come on.
The V-2 rocket was the forerunner to the Saturn V rocket, which would supposedly take man to the moon.